Podcast Answer Man, episode number 178.
Entertaining, educational, and encouraging content that makes a difference.
This is GSPN.TV.
Join the community.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and this is the podcast devoted to podcasting to help you take your show to the next level. No matter whether you're a brand new podcaster or even if you've possibly been podcasting longer than I have for the last 5 years. This show is all about sharing in the journey, providing insights on how we can always take our show a step further. And my friends, welcome to the 178th episode of Podcast Answer Man, where today we are going to be talking about a lot of information. In fact, normally I take your questions and via the voicemail feedback hotline at 859-795-4067. And of course, I want to encourage you to call me with your comments and questions for future episodes. However, this week it's primarily going to be based upon my journey. I've had a lot of things going on in my own podcasting journey, been doing a lot of different things, making some changes here and there, and I wanted to share with you a lot of this information. I think that hopefully if you listen to the story that I share about the things that are going on, you'll bring away from this some insights that you might be able to apply to your own efforts in podcasting. So the first thing I want to talk about here is a brand new... Oh, by the way, let me give you a rundown of just what we're going to cover today, just for those of you who like to hear exactly what's coming up in this episode. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about how I recently redesigned GSPN.TV and some of the thoughts that I have related to that. I'm going to talk about the Thesis theme update. You'll remember recently I told you about some issues that the creator, Chris Pearson of Thesis, had with Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress. I'm going to give you an update on that. We're going to talk about my own personal return to blogging, and I mean, I'm talking about serious blogging, not just just a post here and there, maybe once or twice a month. I'm getting back to regular blogging. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to explain how that helped me get into the process of where I killed one of my websites, and we'll talk about that. Let's see here. Also, we're going to talk about GoDaddy sites being hacked, and what do I do when I have a blog post such as that applies both to my GSPN audience and my Podcast Answer Man audience. Where do I put that blog post at? I'm going to talk about an issue that I'm having with the comments plugin using Discuss, something I've been very happy with, and about another service that I'm thinking about switching over to. I'm going to tell you about how I've been using Chatango for my chat room and why I've just recently switched over to a new service there. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to answer somebody's question that just came in via email this morning from Steve H., who asked me about Adobe Audition on the Mac. And then, of course, I am going to wrap things up by reminding you about the awesome passive income strategy for podcasters webinar. So that, my friends, is what's coming up in this episode. And to start things off, I want to talk about the GSPN.TV website redesign. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the Thesis theme update. So you'll remember that I did talk about the fact that Chris Pearson had this huge blowout, a big public blowout between him and Matt Mullenweg of WordPress. I won't go back into that whole story again. You can even read a little bit more about it in the show notes for today on Podcast Answer Man episode 178. Just go there and look up the show notes for this episode. Anyway, I'm glad to announce that Matt Mullenweg and Chris Pearson have come to an agreement, and Chris is actually going to, I guess he's using some kind of thing called a GPL split license, which basically means that a majority of all this code is all under GPL, but there are some things that he writes in there that actually are licensed outside of the GPL, and it's all more complicated than what I know. The only thing I know is that Chris Pearson and Thesis, the Thesis theme, is now still in a good relationship within the WordPress community as a whole, and has satisfied the concerns that Matt Mullenweg had about his licensing and how he was doing things with the Thesis theme. So this is very good news for me personally, because I actually have an affiliate with them, and I loved recommending the Thesis theme. Go to gspn.tv/thesis, THESIS, if you're interested. Anyway, so financially, it's good because I love referring people to this thing because it financially benefits me, but I would never refer anybody to an affiliate program such as Thesis or Bluehost or any of these other affiliates that I have if I didn't use the services and believe in them myself. All right, and so it is something that I've been using on podcastanswerman.com, virtualassistantpodcast.com, and I had been using it on pursuingabalancedlife.com, which is now dead, and I'll explain to you why in just a few moments. But anyway, I love the Thesis theme, and I was eagerly anticipating getting some time in my schedule so that I could actually redesign GSPN.TV to use the Thesis theme. And when I heard about the issues between Chris Pearson and Matt Mullenweg, I decided to put that project off, and I even stopped promoting, the affiliate links on my website. They're back now, by the way, gspn.tv/thesis. Just saying. Anyway, sorry about that. That was out of line. Anyway, let's talk about the fact that I did have some time in my schedule, and I have done a complete redesign of gspn.tv. And the main benefit that I see right off the bat, now I've always had a majority of all my podcasts, actually all my podcasts, running off of gspn.tv, which if you go there now, you can, it'll right now it pulls up this homepage that's really the about page. My desire is to figure out how to get the homepage to pull up just the category called blog. And that's because I want the blog posts to be the most recent thing that you see each time you come to the homepage. And the reason why I'm okay with that now is because, of course, my feeling was, oh no, what if people come here and they don't know that this is a podcast network? And of course, what's great is if you go to gspn.tv/blog, let's say, for example, at the very top, it'll say, welcome to the gspn.tv community blog. And before it starts giving you all of the different posts in reverse chronological order, what it does is it gives me a place at the top now with this theme that I can actually do this kind of like an About Us page or an About page for each category. So it says here at the Generally Speaking Production Network, our main goal is to produce a lot of entertaining, educational, encouraging, and inspirational podcasts. The community blog is one of the places we turn to communicate between podcast episodes. Of course, you can follow Cliff on Twitter and Stephanie on Twitter. However, the GSPN.TV community blog is where we turn when 140 characters just isn't enough. Also on the blog, our friend Carol posts the GSPN.TV weekly update, where she gives you a rundown of all the podcast episodes that we are producing on a weekly basis. We encourage you to subscribe to the GSPN.TV community blog RSS feed. It is important to note that subscribing to the blog is not the same as being on our mailing list. If you were on an information diet and needed to make a decision between the two, we would prefer that you click here to sign up for the mailing list. Of course, if you just can't get enough of GSPN.TV content, why not subscribe to all the podcasts, the blog, and the mailing list? So this is a little descriptive thing here. It's got a little image. It's got links to all different places on the site. It is totally awesome. I love it. Now, before, let's just say if I took you to socialmediaserenity.com. Well, this would actually forward to a category on gspn.tv. And prior to the Thesis redesign, it would simply show you the most recent episode, like the most recent 3 to 5 episodes, depending on how many I told it to display on the main page. But it would just show you the most recent episodes. It wouldn't tell you very much about the podcast unless in every single episode show notes I explained what the podcast was. And that's not necessarily what I wanted to do. And so now, if you go to socialmediaserenity.com, it still points you to gspn.tv/category/SMS. Actually, I think it takes you to gspn.tv/category/technology/SMS, which I don't know why he put that. But anyway, it still takes you to the SMS, the Social Media Serenity category, where now at the top, there is like an about page or an about text area before you actually see the list of most recent episodes. So this is static. This is on every single archive page for Social Media Serenity. It says, the Social Media Serenity podcast is a show devoted to social networking in general, though we spend a majority of our time talking about the big networks like Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Cliff Ravenscraft and Eric Fisher pursue the most efficient way to use these services to build authentic relationships and build brand awareness in an online community without wasting away countless hours of our lives. And then I love this. It says this: if you like this show, you may also like the Podcast Answer Man, Virtual Assistant, and Business Tech Weekly podcasts. Of course, we invite you to check out our complete list of all our podcasts. Social Media Serenity is one of our Plus member podcasts. And then, of course, it's got the subscription links right there at the top. Every single time somebody comes to socialmediaserenity.com, it has the Zune, the iTunes, and the RSS subscription links, and eventually I imagine there'll be a BlackBerry link there. But anyway, the whole cross promotion of the site, you have to actually go and see it to get a feel for what I'm talking about. But I'm so very happy. This is something that I've envisioned way back when I decided to put multiple podcasts on one site. The original vision was to have like the header change for every podcast. So, when you type in socialmediaserenity.com, that the header would actually be, fully branded Social Media Serenity. And that was the original idea. And that's all possible. And by the way, the things that are possible, this whole putting the static text, the about text on top of each of these category listings, this isn't brand new with Thesis. This has been something that could have been done, 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago when I first started using WordPress to do all of my sites. The thing is, though, is it would have required that I know enough PHP and CSS code to build that into the WordPress theme of which I had already been using. But I didn't. I mean, I know a significant amount, and I'm sure if I had, an extra 20, 30, 40 hours to read up and to play around and tinker back and forth, I could have actually done this all on my own a long time ago. But here's the situation. With Thesis, with the amount of information and knowledge that I do have about PHP and CSS and how easily I can go out and search for how do I do this, and then to see how easily some of this stuff is just built right into Thesis, Chris Pearson has done a wonderful job of making this awesome and easy for me to do without a lot of research and coding myself. So I am very, very delighted about this. And so I just want to let you know, GSPN.TV now completely running on Thesis instead of my old theme. And it has, and the fact is that, I actually enjoy the fact that the header at the top isn't branded Social Media Serenity when you go to the category for Social Media Serenity. I'm actually glad that it's not branded Business Tech Weekly and it changes the header when you're on the Business Tech Weekly category. I like the fact that the header always remains GSPN.TV, Generally Speaking Production Network. Join the community with because I want people to know when you actually find Social Media Serenity on iTunes or wherever you might find it, and then you come to socialmediaserenity.com because we told you to go check out the show notes by going to socialmediaserenity.com. I love that when it comes here, it's branded the network, and it actually does still have the artwork for Social Media Serenity. It still has the description of what it is, and it cross-promotes other shows. It clearly identifies that, hey, this Social Media Serenity thing isn't a solo project of Cliff Ravenscraft and Eric Fisher. It's a part of something so much bigger. And so I'm, again, very excited about the redesign of GSPN.TV. Let's talk about some other things here. Of course, I want to let you know that I have made a decision to return to blogging. And now I've been a blogger since way before. You hear people say this, and I know I hear people say, I was podcasting before RSS feeds. It's like, well, no, you weren't, because podcasting technically is RSS feeds. But I was blogging before blogging was ever called blogging. I think back in the early days, we were calling it web logs. We were calling them web logs. And even before the term web logs came out, I was actually creating a changing HTML website on an ongoing basis. And I was using the Angel Filer service, and I learned how to program HTML, and I would create new updated information on that page. And as a whole page got to be too long to scroll, of course, there's no technical reason why it couldn't be longer and longer. But as I filled up what I considered to be enough for one entire page, I then took all that content and called it, like, let's say January, I don't know what year it was, but anyway, 1996, 97, 90, I think it was 98. 1998, March 1998 or whatever, and .html, and that would be my archive of that month. And then I would completely clean out the index.html, and then I would actually create a sidebar where you could actually say, hey, here are the archives. And I was manually doing all the things that WordPress does today automatically. I was manually doing by hand, and man, am I so glad WordPress. And actually, before WordPress came around, I think I moved over to movable type and then Blogger, and then WordPress. And since I've gone WordPress, I'll never go back. At least I can't imagine that I would. So anyway, I have been a blogger since 98 at least, and I've loved blogging. And in fact, it was really blogging that was one of the big steps of getting me into podcasting, because when I got into podcasting, or what happened is I was blogging some things about the TV show Lost, and I saw the huge increase in the audience size, and that's what really helped boost my confidence, to thinking, hey, if I was to do a podcast about Lost, it appears to me that there would be some people interested in hearing some of the things, the theories and the thoughts and the hidden clues that I find, and so it's like, yeah, I'll test out the waters of podcasting. Soon after that, I found my love for podcasting, and I stopped blogging. I started blogging less and less, I guess I should say. And then it became, it's like, okay, well, what do I do? I mean, do I focus on blogging content? Do I focus on podcasting? And you've heard me say many times that, I believe podcasters should be blogging in between episodes. Not that you have to blog every single week or every single day of the week, but a couple times a month, there should be some written blogs on there. And I would encourage you to even fire up a YouTube channel and record some YouTube videos and embed those in your blog posts as well. Have fun with it. In fact, here's an example. Do me a favor. Go to gspn.tv/Kindle3review. Go to gspn.tv/Kindle3review. Now, this is going to pull up a perfect example of what I mean by using YouTube videos to kind of go along with your written blog post. And of course, you'll see there my brand new purchase and my explanation of why I bought a Kindle 3 when I already had an iPad. And this was a question a lot of people had. Why on earth would you buy this Kindle when you have an iPad already? And so you can see where I did that. And of course, one of the things that you'll read in there is that every time that I actually have a hyperlink for the Amazon Kindle 3 device, it is a hyperlink to gspn.tv/Kindle, which is my affiliate link for that device. And I want to tell you, already within just I think that went up on September 18th. It's the 20th now. So it's been less than 2 full days, and already several people have used my affiliate link to buy a Kindle 3 device. And I'm able to see that on my Amazon Associates log. So yeah, here's an example of how you can blog and use video and have this stuff come up. So I've made a concerted effort that I'm going to return to blogging. It's something that I miss doing. I realize there are some people out there who would prefer to read than to listen to a lot of the things that I have to say. And so I'm going to do some more content that will help complement the content that we're doing over at gspn.tv. And one of the things that I did was I actually killed one of my websites in the process. That's right. I actually got rid of pursuingabalancedlife.com. Well, not technically. I just killed the WordPress installation. And, well, not technically there either. I mean, if you go to ravenscraft.org, it will pull up the site, and you will see where it explains that. Let me see what it actually says here. It loads the old home of Cliff Ravenscraft, Cliff Ravenscraft's blog and podcast, Pursuing a Balanced Life. It says the Pursuing a Balanced Life podcast has a new home. Hey folks, I have great news. I'm very excited to get back into regular practice of blogging once again. I had originally set up this website to do my personal blogging and to post episodes of my Pursuing a Balanced Life podcast. The problem was that every time I wanted to create a new blog post here, I found myself wanting to syndicate this out to my GSPN.TV blog as well. I've made the decision from this point forward that I want to do my personal blogging outside of podcasting and new media, focused on, outside of my podcasting and new media focused work on the GSPN.TV community blog. So the idea here is that, I had 3 different places I could blog. I had podcastanswerman.com for my technology and podcasting and stuff, things that would interest you guys, the audience of this show. And then I had my personal blog, which was Pursuing a Balanced Life. And then I had the GSPN.TV blog, which, to be honest with you, I really never did anything with. And in fact, I just had one guest blogger who every week, Carol, she's a wonderful GSPN.TV community member, who would do the GSPN.TV weekly roundup. And I felt bad because I'm not giving Carol's work and her effort enough attention and a promotion and exposure to the GSPN.TV community, because I'm really not sending very much traffic there. And so now I believe that with my renewed focus on blogging, really focusing a lot of that over on gspn.tv/blog, which will eventually, I hope, will show up on the main homepage here soon. That it's going to give a lot of exposure to what Carol's been doing each week, which I think is extremely valuable. She basically does a recap of all the different shows and tells, gives a little personal feel and a little touch to it. For those who may not be subscribed to all the different shows, they can actually read through a synopsis of everything and make a decision of whether or not they want to check out a show that they previously may have never thought that they would be interested in it. And it's very effective for those who actually do subscribe to the blog, which has not been very many people, because, again, I'd never really promoted it. Well, now if you, again, go check out gspn.tv/Kindle 3 review, and you'll see that it's amazing stuff. Now, the other reason why I decided to kill pursuingabalancedlife.com is because, and by the way, that just points to the podcast category of Pursuing a Balanced Life. I'm still going to continue that podcast and stuff like that, but my blogging is going to be on GSPN. And so that's what's going on there. The other thing that I want to say, though, and I forgot what it was. I just had it just a second ago. But anyway, I'm excited about the fact that I am going to be back to blogging. You should go to gspn.tv/blog and subscribe to the RSS feed. There'll be quite a bit of pictures and videos and written blog posts, short ones, long ones, all kinds of blog posts. I'm very excited to get back into the world of blogging on a more frequent basis. Anyway, one of the other things that happened while I was in the transition of blogging or setting up my redesign of my website, after spending approximately 40 hours, not all together, but a total of 40 hours just really hammering out some major changes to the design and layout and stuff of the site, I noticed that when I went into preview one of the changes, some kind of warning popped up on my site that says, hey, you could possibly be under attack here with malware, and this site is not safe to peruse. We're going to run a virus check here. And of course, then it shows up, this Windows-based operating system operating inside of my Chrome browser on my Mac, which is obviously just a fake ruse to trick people who have Windows systems to think that they have a virus on the system and to click this software to download, which of course is a Trojan horse software that will completely take over your system. Anyway, what happened is my sites got hacked. Now, this is all of my sites on GoDaddy. Now, I have a ton of stuff. Now, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Bluehost. I'm affiliate for them. So if you go to, in fact, go to podcastanswerman.com/hosting. Now, I do have gspn.tv/Bluehost, which takes you straight to them. But I encourage you to read my blog post at podcastanswerman.com/hosting to understand why I love Bluehost as much as I do. Now, the thing is right now, the only sites that I have that are running off of Bluehost are podcastanswerman.com and virtualassistantpodcast.com. Those two websites both run on Bluehost. GSPN.tv and a ton of other websites that I manage all run under the GoDaddy site. And of course, it would take forever for me to switch everything over, and I'm very hesitant to do so. Well, I have several WordPress installations on that account, and every single one of those WordPress installations were hacked by some malicious coder, and I was not alone. Literally thousands and thousands of people were on GoDaddy servers were attacked and basically were infected. In fact, I blogged about this over at gspn.tv/GoDaddy malware attack. That's all one word, gspn.tv/GoDaddy malware attack. And I'm going to get back to why it's over there and why it's not going to be over there in the future. And just bear with me for a second. But I do want to just say here what happened in synopsis, to summarize it. It wasn't anything that I did. It wasn't anything that I neglected. All of my plugins were up to date. All of my WordPress installations are now at 3.0. I think I can say that with some sense of confidence, and I'm only just checking right now to go into podcastanswerman.com to tell you. You know what? I have not yet updated podcastanswerman.com to 3.10. I will wait until later this afternoon because I know my virtual assistant is probably right now editing inside of my WordPress blog for podcastanswerman.com because she's doing a rough draft reading, or she will at some point today be doing a rough draft reading of my show notes, which, by the way, my show notes for this episode already completely put together. I mean, I actually wrote out all of the show notes before I even hit the record button today. I know I was going to do the whole build it as you go thing, but I decided to build it before I go on this episode and to actually have my show notes completely written out ahead of time, and then just when I'm finished, I'm done. I'm always trying something new. And you'll notice that because of my efforts in getting back into blogging, my blog or my show notes for this episode are more like a blog post. I mean, in fact, I don't know if I like this or not, but there are some of you, of course, you're not going to hear this, but there are some of you who said, with all the show notes that you're doing such a great job that I don't even need to listen to the episode anymore. What? But seriously, it to each his own, and if that's the way that it is, then at least the thing is I'm creating the information and hopefully providing the value there for you. And if you don't want to listen to my voice and me ramble in between topics and subjects, then that's fine, I guess. But anyway, but yeah, so some people have said that. The whole deal here is that it wasn't that I didn't upgrade my plugins or anything. It was, in fact, on GSPN.tv, everything was upgraded. And what happened was there is a hole or a vulnerability inside of the Linux operating system that was exploited. And so that's exactly what happened. In fact, this attack had been done on other sites in the past, including Bluehost. But Bluehost actually did some things to actually close that hole, whereas GoDaddy never had, GoDaddy, in my research, GoDaddy had been attacked with this same attack in the past, but didn't close the loophole or something. But anyway, it took me a while to figure out what was going on, thanks to some folks over there on Twitter. That's the coolest thing about Twitter. I mean, I literally had from the point where I actually realized that I had a malware infected website to the time it was completely clean, not just on GSPN.tv, but on all of my blogs, was less than 2 hours. And I am so delighted to be a part of such an awesome community. And thank you for all of you out there who follow me on Twitter. Twitter.com/GSPN is my Twitter name. And I tell you, I am forever grateful for just such an amazing community. But anyway, I blog all about it. I tell you the entire story over at gspn.tv/GoDaddy malware attack. Now, here's the situation, though. I realize now that I should not have put that blog post over at gspn.tv. That blog post should have been at podcastanswerman.com/GoDaddy malware attack. And in the future, any podcast or any blog post that will be technology /podcast /new media related that would be of extreme interest to anyone here for the podcastanswerman.com audience and my business, then I am going to take all the full post, just like you would see at gspn.tv/GoDaddy malware attack. That post instead will be here on podcastanswerman.com. And then over at gspn.tv, if I feel like it's important enough for that community to know about it and I want them to read about it, I will go in and do a very short, brief synopsis blog post just explaining to people, hey, this is what happened, and I just blogged about this on my professional, business site. If you want, click here for the full story. And that's, and this is the thing that kept me from blogging so much in the past is like, I've got so many different outlets, but now I have two outlets. I have podcastanswerman.com for all my technology related stuff that you guys are certainly likely to be interested in. And then, of course, I'll have the gspn.tv content as well. And, of course, there might be something like, I don't know, the GSPN, the whole Kindle thing might be something that might be of interest to people on Podcast Answer Man. But, I can always say, hey, in the show notes here, I'm going to put a link to my blog I did over at GSPN. So I'm working out the details there, but man, I tell you, there's a lot of things to think about when you have multiple sites, and that's why I really like the idea of having one single site. But it still makes sense for me to have podcastanswerman.com on its own so that I can clearly promote this as my commercial business online, this is the business side of Cliff Ravenscraft. And it still makes sense, I think, for the time being, for virtualassistantpodcast.com to exist as its own site. Although I am in negotiations with my inner self about whether or not that podcast now shouldn't also just forward to the category over at Virtual Assistant over at gspn.tv. And now that I can actually take and put the about page, I can clearly, put the contemporary VA sponsorship thing right there at virtualassistantpodcast.com. And in fact, you know what? I need to put that on my to-do list. Okay, so that's a done deal. I had to pause there for just a second, emailed myself a note. You know what? Eventually, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, the Virtual Assistant, the WordPress installation for virtualassistantpodcast.com will go away, and I'm going to forward virtualassistantpodcast.com just to the category listing over at gspn.tv. It just makes sense. Yes, it does. And that, I love it. I love it. It's simplifying things down. And then I need to see if I can, what to do about Biggest Loser Fan Podcast. Biggest Loser Fan Podcast that I do with Father Roderick. It's not just a GSPN show, and I don't know that I want to brand it as just a GSPN show. So that one right there does still have a reason for having its own website. So anyway, I also had this other thing that I don't have in my show notes here, and I won't put in the show notes, but I did have this other blog that I have registered, and it's at worthsavingfor.com, and it was going to be a place where I could go to talk about affiliate relationships that I have and products that I think that are worth saving for. But now that I have this renewed efforts back in blogging and podcast or in blogging again, I think that I'll just fully disclose in each post that, hey, this is an affiliate link, on this site here. If you purchase, I make a commission on it, and I think that it's just more natural, more organic if I talk about affiliate products that I believe in, that I think my audience would benefit from, and that I either use myself or know for a fact that it's a great product from the people and experience that I know, that it makes sense to do that on my regular blog post, kind of like, podcastanswerman.com/hosting, or kind of like, the whole gspn.tv/Kindle 3 review. Anyway, just thinking out loud there. So, let's see here. What have we done so far? We talked about the gspn.tv website redesign, why I'm excited about the whole category having its own listing. It just looks cleaner, looks nicer. I'm telling you, I love it. Go check it out, folks. Browse around. One other thing about that redesign. Go to gspn.tv and look at the navigation menu. It took me a long time to settle on how the navigation menu looks. And the only thing that may change by the time you hear this episode, depending on if you hear it within an hour or within the next 2 years of me releasing this, the only thing that I can see changing immediately is community blog may actually come out of the nav menu, because it hopefully will become the homepage of the site. And but if you click on show descriptions, there's now this is something that took me forever to actually come out with a way of describing what each of these shows are. But if you click there, show descriptions, it breaks it down, tells you about the different types of podcasts we do, and it describes each of the podcasts individually. Then if you click on there, there's live shows, which takes you to our new chat room, which I'm going to tell you about in just a second. I'm so excited about my new chat room. And then, of course, you can browse the podcast, and it's all by category, and you can hover over it. Just do me a favor. Just go and browse around the site. Tell me what you think. All right. So let's talk about the new chat room. All right. And I guess we can go out of order. I was supposed to talk about comments with Discuss next. But I'll tell you what, let's talk about comments with Discuss, and then I will do the new chat room. All right. So here's the deal. Comments. WordPress has commenting built right into the installation. And I think even these days they have the ability to do the threaded comments, which is really cool. However, I'm not a huge fan of actually the built-in abilities and functionalities of WordPress comments, because if I want to comment back to somebody, there's no way for those people to know that that I've responded to them unless they're subscribed to the comments RSS feed, which I think that's ridiculous. Some people do that, and that if you do that, that's cool. It's totally not for me. And so what I had been doing prior to using a commenting system plugin like Discuss, I used to actually reply to people on the website, but then I would also send them an email with the response as well. And of course, what would happen is they would respond to my email, but not, and then the conversation would go on, but nobody else publicly would benefit from the ongoing threaded conversation. So Discuss, DISQUS, the plugin, changed that for me. It was all of a sudden it took over my commenting system, and I'm able to actually be notified when somebody leaves me a link or a comment, and then I can respond to it right inside the website, or I can log into discuss.com and sign into my account and respond to all the comments that are in all the different websites that I have right from their one webpage. And when I actually hit reply, it actually posts that in a threaded conversation on my site, on that post. It also sends that person an email notifying them that I've responded, and provides a link back to that page with the comment, so that the conversation continues on and threads on the actual blog post where they originally left the comment. I love it. The only thing is, though, is that up until up until September 6th, and I just realized this working on my redesign, or was it 16th? I can't remember. But anyway, just up until recently, what would happen was Discuss would actually import every time somebody leaves a comment, both myself and my website visitors, when they would leave a comment, it would also sync those comments back into the WordPress database. And this is important because what if I decide I don't want to use Discuss anymore? Well, then it would actually, all those comments would still be there, and WordPress's commenting system would display those comments. I didn't think this was all that important, but I felt that was a great feature. But I realized it's very important. Because right now, if I go to gspn.tv/blog, which is just basically, it's just showing the most recent couple of blog posts, and there's, you can have the ability to say, hey, click here to read more, or at the end of the post, it doesn't give you the ability to comment right there, but it tells you, hey, this is how many comments are on this post, or click here to leave a comment, whatever the case may be. Well, on all these blog posts, it says 0 comments, 0 comments, 0 comments. Although it was September 16th is when this stopped working, by the way, 4 days ago. So something during the process has broken the discuss functionality. And so what I noticed is it's not working here anymore. It's not syncing back because now it's showing 0 comments, when in fact there are some really active and lively conversations happening on those posts. So I'm not too happy about that. I sent an email to the help@discuss.com or whatever email address they gave me for support. I hope I'll hear something back from them today. Although I will let you know that I am very much considering moving over to intense debate anyway. I've heard a lot of people who swear by it and they love it, and I've seen it, I believe, on some other blogs, and I really like it. So that's what's going on with my Discuss plugin. I'm thinking about switching over to Intense Debate. Hopefully I can get that resolved before I leave for Boston this weekend. So now it's time to talk about the chat room. I mean, I have been using a Flash-embedded chat room called Chatango for quite some time. And I liked it a lot. I was able to put it on all my different sites. In fact, if you go to podcastanswerman.com, under the live studio stream, you'll see the chat room under there. But now it's no longer Chatango. Instead, it is my chat roll, ROLL, chat room. And the coolest thing about this is that it is, I think it's JavaScript. I'm not positive. But anyway, what I can tell you is that it is certainly iOS compatible. So it works on the iPhone, it works on the iPad, which are my two most important places where I wanted it to work. And also, I believe it's working on the Android device. I had somebody tell me it was working on the Android. And you're not going to believe this, but it actually works perfectly, although very slow. I would not recommend this. But yes, I could actually chat with you from my Kindle 3 web browser, because it's got WebKit OS or a WebKit browser on the Kindle 3 now. Anyway, but it works and it's great and I love it, and it has the ability, people can sign in with their Facebook account if they want to. If they don't want to have Facebook, they can sign up for a chat roll account, which is the same. It would be the equivalent of signing up for a Chatango account, or you could just sign in as a guest. And just type in a name and choose a name and go with it. Really, really love it. In fact, I encourage you sometime to go to gspn.tv/live on a Thursday when we're recording live and come check out the chat room. It's very cool. Eventually, I'm in researching ways that I can stream audio to the iPad and iPhone as well. And when I get all that figured out, I'm going to make that available to our gspn.tv Plus members. And then of course there'll be a GSPN.TV Plus member only live site that you could actually chat and listen to the shows live on Thursday right from your iPod Touch or iPad or iPhone or whatever device that you want to. And that's going to be an added benefit. Of course, the GSPN.TV regular live site where you can come to the website should still be available for free. I don't have any immediate intentions to change that. So there you go. New iOS capable or compatible chat room, chat roll. Oh, by the way, it's not free. It is not free, but it is worth it. I think you can get the free version, and it'll allow you to chat with up to 10 people during your live show. I am paying for the $19 per month plan that allows me to have up to 100 people in my chat room. And given that I have usually an average between 30 to 65 people in the chat room when we do a live show, I felt like that was the perfect spot. And of course, I'm very happy with it. And I've contacted the company to see if they have an affiliate program. I didn't see anything linked at the bottom of their site, but regardless of whether or not they have an affiliate program, I'm still going to recommend them The premium service, $19 a month for what I'm using, and I think every single penny of it is worth it. So I love it. All right. Got an email from Steve H. this morning. He says, hey, as a new listener, I may be wrong, but it sounds like you're a Mac user, as am I. He says, I noticed that you recommended Audition, which appears to be a Windows-only program. While I have both Windows 7 and Macs, I prefer to do my audio work with my Mac. I appreciate it if you could clarify this. Thanks again for all your podcasts and advice. And then I simply responded to Steve's email saying, and I'm going to quote this because I'll just say that I have to be brief and to the point and be very factual with the information that's available out there. So it says, I responded to Steve's email saying, I am a Mac-only user. However, I had been using Parallels to run Audition to process my podcasts. It is worth the extra effort. You might want to look at this, which is labs.adobe.com/technology/audition, where it actually says that the Adobe Labs website clearly indicates that Adobe Audition for the Mac is coming in a future release. And that is a publicly available website that I can tell you about. So there you go. Mac version of Adobe Audition appears from the very public website of Adobe Audition to be coming to the Mac. So stand by for more information in the future. All right, so also want to let you know that the passive income strategy for podcasters is we're preparing for that. In fact, we've already got a totally amazing outline. I'm very excited about this. You heard about this last week from my interview with Pat Flynn. Wow, got a ton of awesome feedback. Thank you, each and every one of you who put out Twitter messages saying how excited you were to hear from Pat Flynn. I know that he appreciated getting all of those messages. Very happy to know that it struck a chord with you. And I want to let you know, if you're looking to monetize your podcast, there is a proven strategy for earning passive income from building a relationship of trust and influence with your audience. And I'm not talking about this get-rich-quick stuff. In fact, I'm here to tell you that, this strategy does take a little bit of extra work. It actually can take quite a bit of extra effort, but it's worth it in the long run. And as a podcaster, I want to tell you that you've already done most of the hard work finding your niche audience, creating a website, and you're already actively building your community. So the thing is if you're interested in finding a way to generate income, real money, I'm not talking, $20 a month. I'm talking about generating real income from your podcast, where it is always, and I mean this is extremely important to hear, always a win-win scenario for both you and your audience. If you're interested in learning how to monetize your podcast in a way that I found to be proven, not just for myself, but many of my clients as well, then I encourage you to go to podcastanswerman.com and register today for the Passive Income Strategy for Podcasters webinar. Now, this is a $200 webinar, but we are giving a $50 discount to anybody who is on the Podcast Answer Man mailing list. If you're not already on the mailing list, you go to podcastanswerman.com/mailing list. Join today on the mailing list, and I will immediately send you a personal note thanking you for signing up for the mailing list, and I will give you the discount code for $50 off of that webinar. Let me tell you, folks, this webinar, I would not charge this much money if I didn't know for a fact that it's worth it. I'm telling you. There are still a few spots open, and of course the webinar is happening on October 23rd, 2010 from 11 o'clock a.m. till 1 o'clock p.m., I believe, and you don't want to miss it. That's all I got to say. You don't want to miss this. If you have a podcast and you're serious about growing your audience and stuff like that, why not find a way to earn some income from your passion? And if you've read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It, you'll know that it's very possible to do so. And we're going to give you a very effective, a proven strategy for you. I mean, you take this webinar, and after 2 hours with Pat and myself, we really do believe that you'll be able to immediately go out and start putting the strategy into effect right away. And go sign up for it, podcastanswerman.com. There's a big, huge banner right-hand side where you can click to register. Well, my friends, that is going to do it for this week for podcastanswerman.com. There will not be another podcast. I'm recording this on Monday, September 20th. I know I normally record these on Thursday. I was really busy with the GSPN.TV redesign. And then, of course, there was the whole malware attack and so many other things going on. But here I am, Monday, September 20th. There will not be another Podcast Answer Man episode this Thursday. However, do keep your eyes on the blog. Keep your eyes on podcastanswerman.com, and also keep your eyes on gspn.tv/blog. Between those two, there's going to be a ton of coverage related to podcasting and new media as Stephanie and I head to PodCamp Boston 5. Thanks to the folks over at Divine Office for sponsoring that trip. If you want to find out how that all happened, go to gspn.tv/divineoffice. That's all one word, gspn.tv/divineoffice. Anyway, we are going to Boston, PodCamp Boston 5. We hope to see you there. If you are there, please make sure that you come up and say hi to myself and Stephanie. We would love to meet you. Anyway, God bless you all. I'll be back again the Thursday. I like that little sound. Anyway, I'll be back the following Thursday after I get back from PodCamp Boston. And can't wait to give you a review of all the totally awesome people that I met there, all the benefits that I had received from, making the decision to step out and go network with other people in this field. So I already know it's going to be awesome. And not to mention the fact that I get to hang out with my wife for a couple days without the kids in a totally awesome city like Boston. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. God bless you all. Hey, give me a call on the voicemail feedback hotline. My intentions as I speak right now are to answer some more questions in the next episode. So give us a call, 859-795-4067. That's phone number 859-795-4067. Until next time, join the community.